Our next guest is the front man from one of the most commercially successful rock bands of the late 90s, a band which is capitalizing on the growth in streaming with nearly 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Gavin Rossdale is the lead vocalist and guitarist for Bush, which just announced a new summer tour on Monday. Gavin, it's good to have you. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning. Great to be here.
We should point out the announcement of the tour has a lot to do with Spotify, doesn't it?
Yeah, everything we do has a lot to do with Spotify these days. You know, it's very exciting times.
Explain the tie-in between what you're planning to do this summer and people who might subscribe to the service or just listen to it on the ad-supported tier.
Well, you know, we get a lot of support from Spotify, a lot of new users all the time, and I think that people are going to be able to. We're looking into it, but I think they'll be able to like pre-order, pre-buy tickets on Spotify. So really. Again, it's another example of Spotify really trying to work with bands, work with artists to bring people a better experience.
Is there something about this particular product that you think is preferable to the obviously huge array of competitors out there in the streaming space?
I think it's being one of the leaders really helped, and I just find it really its usability and the way that it really. The curation of the playlists and things like that really makes a big difference. And I enjoyed the service and use it myself and have a family plan for me and my boys.
Gavin, first let me just say that I am very excited that we're having you on the show right now because I'm a child of the 90s and I grew up on grunge and I grew up listening to Bush, so thank you for coming on. But in light of that, we've had a number of artists on here just in the last couple of days who have made the argument that Spotify and these other streaming services aren't necessarily paying enough to artists. Do you feel that that's the case? And if so, is that an issue with the record companies and the publishers, or is that an issue with Spotify?
There's an argument to be put that artists have never been paid as well as they could have been by labels and throughout the history of music. But I think that you get a sense that with Spotify that they are trying to reverse that, and there's maybe a stopgap between Spotify and the labels that needs to be clarified a little bit better. But like all these technologies, things are just improving all the time.
Do you think that the day when you stop buying music or downloading music, do you think that day is coming and it all just goes to streaming?
I mean, for me personally, I would say so. Yeah, I think that's very much the case. I think the only thing that can save it possibly is looking at ways to make buying DVDs more attractive, including live footage, live contents, documentaries or something like that. Something to step it away, but really streaming is such a logical way to listen to music.
Gavin, it's been my understanding that bands can benefit from all the data Spotify has about their fan base and really can direct them to what might be the best venue for a concert, the best area. Has that been your experience, or do you expect that to grow over time as Spotify has even more information about the likes of its listeners?
Yeah, I think that it continue to streamline, and what I do love about Spotify is their desire to continue to make it better for the listener, continue to improve the experience. So we're just in this sort of earlier stages, and I think it's all possible. And to understanding what the people want, what the listeners want, is really the key to just building it for us as a band, a great relationship with our audience. You can even look at the numbers of plays your songs have and almost work out your set lists to see which are the most popular songs. Things like that, and just the people keeping a community going. The way that the technology is going, sometimes it can go against social connections, but this with Spotify, it's a way of bringing people together.
Interesting. It also seems like a way for bands that have been around for a while, like yours, and we had Gene Simmons on earlier this morning, to branch out into current generations that clearly are not listening to terrestrial radio, and you can almost sort of make your fan base longer over time if you go where they're obviously listening.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what the best part is, that if someone hears your song, they can investigate you without having to give up a lot of hard-earned money or their money for chores or whatever you might call it. And I think it really allows people to discover the width and breadth of artists they like. So I love it for that.
In the last 2 decades, we've seen basically the record industry kind of decimated. So many companies have folded or been merged and brought together. The economics to really kind of make money in the music industry, especially if you're a new artist, it's a very high hurdle to mount. The days of development deals seem to be really, for the most part, gone. I can't help but wonder whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, given the fact that they've got Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine over there as well, if these are companies that are going to become content creators and sort of the next generation record companies, in much the same way we've seen Netflix create stuff for television and films. What do you think?
I think that's, I was about to say that's spot on, I apologize for that. I think that is obviously a way forward, and again, it's just about improving the experience for subscribers. And I think by the end of this year, there'll be 100 million subscribers to Spotify. And that's a lot of people listening and a lot of power and a lot of control you have over people. So why not make the experience great?
Are you going to invest in Spotify, or are you invested in this market in general?
I think that it'd be a great thing to be invested in, for sure.
It doesn't sound like a yes or no.
No, it's a yes. It's a yes. And I'm invested emotionally.
Well, a lot of investors might feel the same way once their buy orders go through, which we will watch for later on this afternoon. Gavin, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank
Gavin
you, guys.
Rossdale from Bush talking about Spotify.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.